You could literally set your watch to this real estate market. It is not disappointing, ladies and gentlemen. It is the beginning of February and numbers are out for January. So we get to squash all the speculation on what was going to happen and really look at the numbers and find out what did happen in the Denver real estate market. My name's Alex Saldana. Thank you for joining me again for our monthly update on the Denver metro real estate market, where we dig into the numbers. We don't pay attention to the headlines very much, or we do, and we just look at reality and see what's actually happening out there versus just what they want you to click on. And you know what? January did not disappoint. It's an election year. And what that generally means is towards the last half of the year, things drastically slow down in a normal market. With a normal election, activity drops by about 50%. Now, activity is already way, way down. Closings are way, way down. Listings are way down. So we're still in a really balanced, nice feeling market for actually both sides of the transaction, which doesn't happen very often, and it doesn't happen for very long. But during this election year, it's already setting up for the circus. I don't know how crazy it's going to get, but I know our plan is to get as much done as possible by July, August, and then just kind of hang out, see what's going to happen. Of course, help our traditional buyers and sellers as much as possible during that time. But it might get a little bit weird. So starting with the close price, that's what everybody wants to know. Of course, is your house going up in value or down in value? Well, looking here over the last 3 years, what we are still down from the highs of 600,000 back in April of 2022. And we're at 539. From a month ago, we're up about 4,000. So that tends to be the norm. Last year, January was our low at 520, and then we jumped up to 540 within a month. That's $20,000 last year in 1 month. So that was 4%, 3.5% jump in one single month. Now, January, we already ticked up from December, which is not common. So what's going to happen for February? We're going to see a 3, 4, 5% jump. We very well might, because, man, this real estate market, like I said, you can set your watch to it. It's very, very cyclical here in Denver. Now, new listings, looking back at the last 3 years, we had 2,800 new listings hit the market in December. We had 5,200 hit in January. Not quite double, but pretty darn close. Is that normal? Going back last year, 2,800 to 4,500, almost double. Year before, December was the low at 4,000, and we jumped up by just a little bit, 5,200 in January. So yeah, we've hit the low of the amount of new listings hitting the market. Now we should be on an upswing until about June, July. Active listings. This is what is interesting. So even though we were at 10,500 in December, we dropped down to 9,000. So we reduced by another 15% of active listings on the market. Usually it reverses course by now, and it just hasn't. And that's a big dip in the amount of active listings. So what that's telling me is that there's still more buyers than there are houses on the market, or at least what's filling their needs. There's always going to be a certain percentage of houses that sit on the market because they're overpriced, or, they need a lot of work, something. But the houses that are priced right, houses that are in good condition, are moving, and they're moving fast. All right, on to pending listings. So in 30 days, these pending transactions will turn into closed transactions, right? And boom, we saw the spike. 3,600 in December up to 5,000 in January. So again, a 50% jump of properties that are going under contract, meaning in a month, we're going to be looking at closings at around 5,000 closings, okay? What was it last year? December was the low. Again, 3,500 jumped up to 4,700. So far, we have more activity this January than we did last January. Not the January before. That's an anomaly. Just scratch those years off your record, because they make zero sense. Now, going back in time, it's always interesting to see, okay, where were we, as far as how many properties went under contract compared to previous years. And if we erase COVID, right, the 3 years of craziness with COVID, we're a little bit lower, right? We're a little bit lower than roughly 2019, 2017, and 18, but it's kind of on trend, maybe a little bit down, but nothing alarming by any means on how many properties are under contract. We're just not used to so few being under contract. Closed listings. Another interesting number here. So in December, we had 4,200 close. In January, we had 3,300 close. Last year, December, 4,300 down to 3,400. So less closings than last year. So we'll pay attention to this. We'll see if this is the bottom. With the amount that are pending right now, it's kind of going to have to be, right? As long as all those close. When we zoom out, this is where we can see, to have 3,300 closings in January, which is usually the low, we have to go back, where is it, to 2015 to have this few of closings. So 9 years since we have had this few of closings in our market. It's just, purely interest rates, the knee-jerk reaction of, how much it's going to cost you to buy a house. And now that's starting to fade off, people going, man, maybe interest rates will never go back down to 4%, 3% again. Or if they do, let's just make the decision. We've outgrown our house. It's time. And if the rates drop, we're just going to refi, right? So days in MLS still is spiking up. The average right now is 37. So it's got some people worried. We're up 5 days, from last month. Still, 60 to 90 days over the long term is kind of the average and the norm. But last year it was the peak at 35 days. So we'll see, this year if January is the peak and we start plummeting down like we do every single stinking year. Month supply of inventory. So how much inventory is actively available is still going down. We were 2 months of inventory last month. We're at 1.7 this month. So the buyers are outpacing the amount that is being closed. Supply and demand. Now on to shows to pending. Still at 11. So 11 showings last month, 11 showings this month before a property on average goes under contract. But the shows per listing, boom, skyrockets up. If you want an exact representation of how many buyers are in the market, the amount of showings per listing is your number. So if you want to see if there's more buyer activity happening, this is your number to look at. So I'm going to zoom out here, but first just look at the last year. So this year so far in 2024, January had 7.2 showings per listing. Last year, January, we had 6.8. So going back to the trend, few more buyers in the market this year than there was last year. The interest rates have set in a little bit, right? And then showings just increased until March, and then they started, trailing off a bit. As more inventory comes on the market, those showings are spread out amongst more inventory, and then the summer months hit and showing traffic falls even more. When we zoom out on this, let's take a look. God, those COVID years, man, we're just crazy getting 17, 18, 19 showings per listing. And we can just see this is the trend, ladies and gentlemen. January spikes up. We go back to 2017. January spikes up, peaks out in March. Year before, December was the low. January spikes up, peaked up in April. This is something we can absolutely track and pay attention to. So in your cycle of buying, selling, getting back to the election year, circus that's probably coming up. If you're on the sell side, I beat this drum heavily until just about June. Now is the time to prepare. Now is the time to get your house ready and get on the market before election craziness happens. And the reason why things slow down so much is that people are cautious, right? Depending on which side you're on, you don't want the other side to be in office. You think the world's going to end if, the Democrats get elected or the Republicans get elected. And in reality, that doesn't happen. But that's the mentality out there. And so everything slows down. People are wondering what's going to happen with the economy, what's going to happen with the interest rates. And so now is the time to act. If you're on the sell side, all the buyers are coming off the fence. The chatter out there, which is kind of that X factor that you can't really put a number onto, is that I'm having a lot more conversations with sellers and with buyers. and they're all, getting a little jittery to start making some moves. Okay. Everybody has been frozen for the last 2 years almost since interest rates spiked up like crazy. And after a while, that feeling kind of settles in. You go, okay, we're at 6.5% interest rates right now. It sucks. I don't want to make that payment. But at the same time, we have our mother moving in with us and we don't have the same amount of house like that. This house doesn't work anymore. We've been sitting here for the last year and a half doing nothing, hoping rates would drop, but they're not going to drop. So we might as well start the house hunt and put our house on the market. And so I think activity is going to continue to pick up. If you're on the buy side, there's still opportunities out there to have seller concessions paid. Our days on market are high. March and April, I think it's going to be strong on the sell side. We're going to see multiple offers. I have a friend in Washington State that's in Seattle that had a house with 47 offers on it a couple weeks ago, right? Like Seattle is usually the crazy of the crazy as far as the numbers go, but that trend generally follows throughout the rest of the country a couple months later. So I don't think we'll hit that scenario. Maybe that house was extremely underpriced. Who knows? There's lots of variables to it that we cannot measure. But at the same time, we've already seen multiple offer scenarios when houses are priced right now. It's not the 5, 10, 15 offers that we had a couple years ago, but 2, 3 offers, right? Asking price, tiny bit over asking price to make the deal happen for their buyers. And so, yeah, I think that's in the cards for March and April. I think if you're a buyer, those are going to be some more challenging months to be on the buy side. But you do what you got to do when you got to do it. This fall might present some opportunities if you're on the buy side for houses that are on the market. But that depends on how many houses are on the market. If nothing fits what you're looking for, doesn't matter how aggressively priced it is, it may not work for you. So once again, if you have any questions, feel free, reach out, call me, text me, send me an email, snail mail, smoke signals, doesn't matter. I'm here to help. And until the next time, happy housing.